Why they never apologize, especially to family. There's a specific kind of pain that comes from waiting for an apology you know will never come. Not because you're wrong, not because the hurt wasn't real, but because the person who caused the damage simply cannot face themselves. And strangely, it happens most often within families. You grow up thinking, if anyone should be able to say sorry, it should be the people who love you. But then reality hits. Some people will apologize to strangers, yet they go silent when it's their own family they've hurt. Why? Because apologies require emotional courage, and not everyone was taught how to develop that. Some people were raised in families where admitting fault meant punishment, where being wrong meant being humiliated, where vulnerability was seen as weakness, not strength. They grew up believing, if I apologize, I lose. If I admit fault, I'm unsafe. If I'm accountable, I'm exposed. So instead of leaning into honesty, they lean into defensiveness, denial, and distortion. And unfortunately, family becomes the easiest place to practice that distortion. With family, they assume you'll stay. They assume you'll forgive. They assume your loyalty is unconditional. So they take emotional shortcuts. They convince themselves you'll get over it, that you're exaggerating, that it's not that deep. To them, apologizing feels like handing over power. So they dodge it. They'll avoid eye contact, switch topics, blame stress, blame you, or twist the entire story until you feel guilty for even bringing it up. And here's the darker truth. For some people, especially those with psychopathic or narcissistic entitlement-based traits, apologizing disrupts the image they've built. They need to be the good ones, the wise one, the one who never makes mistakes, the one the family depends on. An apology threatens their image. It forces them to confront the fact that they are capable of hurting others, something their ego simply cannot hold. And this is where the cycle begins. You confront them with honesty, they respond with silence. You bring up your pain, they bring up your flaws. You try to heal, they try to win. Not because your pain doesn't matter, but because accountability feels like a personal attack to them. They don't apologize because they've never developed the emotional muscle to handle discomfort. They don't apologize because they fear the consequences of being human. They don't apologize because avoiding responsibility is easier than changing. But here's what you need to hear, especially if you grew up in a toxic family where people normalize keeping the peace over telling the truth. Their lack of apology is not a measure of your worth. It never was. Your feelings are valid, your experience is real, your hurt is legitimate. And the person who refuses to apologize is not stronger. They're emotionally underdeveloped. It's easier to say, you're too sensitive, than to say, I shouldn't have said that. It's easier to pretend nothing happened than to face the shame of knowing they caused the wound. It's easier to avoid accountability than to risk losing control of the narrative. But here's the hopeful part. You can break the pattern. You can choose relationships where accountability is normal, where I'm sorry isn't a battle, where emotional maturity is the baseline, not a miracle. You don't have to beg for apologies. You don't have to shrink to keep the peace. You don't have to absorb someone else's guilt as your responsibility. Sometimes the apology you want will never come, but the healing you deserve still can. And sometimes you learn that the most powerful apology you'll ever receive is the one you give yourself for staying too long, for hoping too hard, for trying to carry someone else's growth on your shoulders. You deserved better. And moving forward, you get to choose better. Some people never apologize. But you get to become the kind of person who heals, who grows, and who refuses to repeat the patterns you were born into. Kindly share this video with someone who might need it. Don't forget to like and subscribe.